Hey everyone, Jeffrey here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about perfectionism and really the curse of perfectionism. And I'm actually creating this video as a way to try and combat my own perfectionist tendencies. It's almost like a meta exercise of talking about perfectionism in a way that combats my perfectionism. Because typically when I'm trying to make these videos, I spend a lot of time just obsessing over my script, of writing it over and over again, reading it out loud, going back and editing and then writing it and reading it all over again. And I don't really allow myself much space to kind of just speak ad lib, to just riff and talk about what it is that I'm actually thinking. I feel like in order to be more perfect, I need to craft each word specifically and then deliver that perfectly. I don't give myself any space to fail. And so with this video, I actually just want to try talking about perfectionism in a way that makes me feel uncomfortable, because I need to learn to let go of trying to be perfect in everything that I do, because it can lead to some pretty negative and damaging behaviors and self-talk. So in this video, I want to talk about how I think about perfectionism, what it makes me feel, what kind of behaviors that leads to in my life, as well as what I'm trying to do to combat it, to make it less of a feature of how I think and act day to day. So to me, perfectionism is not really about the outcome. It's not about what you're actually able to achieve. You might hear people talk about being a perfectionist with pride, as though you can actually complete things perfectly over and over and over again. But you can't do that. It's not sustainable in the long term. We're human. We're going to make mistakes, and we have to accept that. But to me, perfectionism is really about maintaining appearances. It's about the perception that we think other people have of us, as well as the perception that we have of ourselves, of our own self-identity. And when you're looking at things through a perfectionist mindset, there is no room for failure. And failure isn't something that you do. It's something of who you are. Rather than thinking that I have failed, every time you make a mistake, no matter how little, and especially if it's something that's visible to other people, I find it attacks my identity as a person. It makes me think that I am a failure rather than it's something that I have simply failed at. And that can be very negative. It can lead to you judging yourself very harshly. It can lead to you not showing yourself the compassion that you would show to a loved one or a friend or somebody else that you meet. I find that because I have this perfectionist mindset, this real curse of perfectionism, that I hold myself to these impossibly high standards. It isn't enough to just achieve a goal. I need to exceed the goal by wide margins. And if I don't do that, and if I don't do that perfectly, if I don't be the best at what I do, then I oftentimes don't even try to do it. Or even if I do it, I feel horrible in the process. I can achieve so much success and still feel horrible about it in the process as well as in the outcome, because I think that I could have done better, or I could have been more, or I wasn't as good as somebody else was. And the other thing that being a perfectionist makes me feel is just this obsessiveness over mistakes. Like I said, no matter how tiny, especially if they're visible, I just play them over and over and over again in my head, and they just run on a loop, and you become so sensitive to the smallest of errors that in the grand scheme of things, you could do something 99% perfectly, but that 1% is just going to eat and nag at you, and it's going to be the only thing that you can think of, and it just colors the context of everything that you do. And because we're human, because we can't not make mistakes, almost every single endeavor that we embark upon is always going to be colored through this negative lens. So how does having this perfectionist tendency actually alter my behavior on a day-to-day basis? Well, I think one of the biggest things is it holds me back from trying things that I think there's a potential that I could fail at. I go for the safe option instead of the stretch goals, the things that, although I might not succeed at, the process, the journey is actually going to help me grow, because it's going to force me outside of my comfort zone. It's going to force me to be uncomfortable, to stretch myself. But because I feel like in order to do something, I need to be successful at it, and not only be successful, but be extremely successful. And if I don't feel like I can do that up front, it really limits what I'm willing to take on, or what I'm willing to invest my time and effort and energy into. And that really leads to this all or nothing mentality. Either you can be the best and it's worth doing, or if you can't, even if you would come second place, you feel like it's not worth your time. So you really give up so many opportunities and so much potential to grow and develop and to become a better person. And the other thing that I think it really impacts is my ability to connect with other people. To form connections, you need to be vulnerable. You need to take off the armor. You need to show people who you actually really are. But when you're so focused on maintaining the facade, the pretense that you are perfect, that you don't make mistakes, it's not effort that you're putting into actually connecting with other people, with people seeing who you actually are. They don't get to know the real you. They get to know this carefully curated image that you're always trying to present to the world. So if I'm being a perfectionist just is really damaging to maintaining relationships, and especially to connecting and building new ones. So what am I doing to try and combat these perfectionist tendencies? I've identified that this is something that affects me. I've identified behaviors that it causes, negative behaviors that it causes in my life. And I want to combat it. I want to grow beyond this so that I can be a better person for myself, for my family, so that I can do things that are going to have more of a meaningful impact, and that I can actually form those connections with other people. So I think one of the biggest things that I'm trying to do is, honestly, this YouTube channel. I think it forces me to come to terms with, I'm not going to be the best. No matter how much I try, there's always going to be so many other people who are better than me out there. But that's okay. I can still go on this journey, and I can still learn so much from it. It's not a race where I'm trying to compete with other people. You know, it's not like we're all on the same track with one goal, and I can see a million people ahead of me, so I get discouraged and just get off the track. You know, this is a journey that we have to take on our own. So it really forces me to have to look through the lens of focusing on the gain instead of the gap. And it's this idea that we should be measuring ourselves against who we were, not who we might want to become or other people. If all I ever focus on is how other people are better than me, there's always going to be that discrepancy. There's always going to be this huge gulf that I just don't think that I can get over, which is going to be very discouraging and very negative. But if instead I focus on where I started and how far I've come along in the process, then I can be content. I can be happy with the gains that I have made. And with making this YouTube channel, I can literally see how far I've come in terms of my thinking, my ability to speak comfortably to a camera, my ability to produce videos that are engaging. I can literally see the chronology of it from my first video to now to, you know, hopefully my 100th or 1000th video. And I can really get hyper focused on just trying to stay focused on the process instead of progress. Focus on the journey instead of the destination. And one other thing that I found really helpful with combating this, especially when I'm in the midst of this shame cycle that is generated when I make a mistake, is journaling, and is actually writing about what it is that I'm feeling, what it is that I'm thinking, because my mind just gets trapped in this loop of obsessing over and over and over again about a mistake. But if I take the time and actually start writing about what I think, about what the story that I'm telling myself, about the context that this is occurring in, then I can put it more in perspective and I can allow my mind to move beyond just that initial reaction and to dive deeper into actually what's going on here. And I can actually see how much something is bothering me by how often I write about it. Sometimes something will happen and I will just feel the need to write about it for days and days and days. And because I'm journaling, because I'm sitting down each day, I'm giving myself that opportunity to work through it. If I just wrote about it once, there might be some lingering issues that I haven't resolved, that I haven't talked myself through. So really having a consistent journaling practice to engage my thoughts beyond just that reaction, that obsession over, oh my goodness, I made a mistake. What is it everyone thinks? What do I think about myself in this situation? I can actually just get through to the other side, accept that it's happened, put it in context and perspective of what it might mean for the rest of my life, and realize that it's actually something that I can get beyond instead of something that has to define who I am. So thanks everyone for watching. Let me know what you think of this style of video, what you think of me just kind of riffing on a topic, if you found it useful, insightful. Let me know if you've struggled with any of these perfectionist tendencies. What have you noticed about it and what have you tried that has worked you move past it? Because honestly, I'm still just trying to understand how it manifests itself in my life and trying to get rid of it. I mean, it might always be a part of who I am and something that I have to be aware of and work through, but I want to get better. So if you have any tips or tricks, just let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time.